V1. Rotate.
Welcome back to the flight deck. So we've begun our preparations for our descent and arrival into Copenhagen. Winds still showing out of the northwest at 15 knots, 290 now. We've plugged in our transition level, which is 50. We've set our QNH on the standby, which is 997, which I'll get out of the way. There it is. Our decision height we haven't plugged in yet. Put in a couple of descent winds, all that good stuff into the FMS. We're going to select our auto brakes to 2. Rather short runway here, and if we do get 30. Copenhagen approach is online. Didn't have an ATIS last time I checked, so I've already pre-tuned the standby frequency to Copenhagen approach, and we can go ahead and get set up for what I think is going to be a 30 arrival. So on 1 FMC we will go to the 3 runways at Copenhagen Kastrup Airport. We've got a pair of parallel 422s, and we've got a crossing 3012. Winds, as I mentioned earlier, coming out of the northwest, 290, so we're planning an arrival on runway 30 if ATC complies. And it is rather on the short side of the runway lengths, 7,759 feet. That's why we're going to select auto brakes number 2 at least. The advantage of coming in on runway 30, though, is the terminal's going to be just here up on our right-hand side, so as we vacate either probably Alpha or Delta, depending on how quickly we can get it stopped, or even maybe here at the end towards Kilo 3, we can just turn off the runway and park up at any one of the stands that were assigned. So that's the plan at least. Over here in the arrival stars page, a little bit outdated, so the names are actually have changed. But the last waypoint in our flight plan at Tildo, and then we'll be proceeding onto the Corsa VOR, and then I believe it's a right turn vectors from there. So here's the field. We've got our parallel 0422s, and our 30 is going up in this way. So we're going to come in from Tildo, then to Corsa, tracking the Corsa VOR. And then probably vectors this away for a downwind, and then a sweeping left turn base leg final to runway 30. Over in the ILS chart, it's a little bit outdated, and this is more of a procedural kind of arrival. We're not going to be doing much of this. This is basically taking us from the Kastrup VOR, which is right over the field here. The problem with that is if anybody's departing on either of the 22s, I mean, we're coming in basically from down here. It would be in direct conflict with departing traffic. So I'm guessing this is either outdated or this is only for use when operating only on runway 30. We're going to be more down here and then making our downwind turn a little bit further out, essentially, from the Corsa VOR. But we can still pull our relevant information from it. So the inbound course 302, the frequency is 108.9. What else? Minimums for our approach for Category C, 222 baro, 214 radio. That's about it. Pretty bog standard ILS here. On 1 FMC, we will go to the legs page. We will put route data. Nope, that's not what we want. We want legs page. Come on, get out of that. We'll put this to the plan. Then we'll step down to Tildo. And in the other FMC, we will select our runway 30 arrival, and is the Tildo 1 Delta. So if I bring this just over here like so, we will add Lugas to the flight plan, and then that's about it actually. No, then we've got KOR Kilo Oscar Romeo. I had the charts up in a second here, and second ago here, and that's a VOR just south or just west of the field. And from there, it's vectors, and then we have our final approach fix. So it's basically going to be a heading we're expecting radar vectors essentially into runway 30. So all of that is set. I will check the charts quickly, and the minimums I already know are 222 on the barrow. So we can go ahead and select that. If the flight deck would stop moving around, which it doesn't look like it will. Come on, 220. There we go, 222. So yeah, that's about it for the preparation so far. We'll see if that plan comes to fruition with Copenhagen Control, or Copenhagen Approach, if they're still on. They sure are, 119.8. So we've got that. And we can go ahead and bug down to flight level 80 or below by KOR. Go ahead and do that. There we go. Bring my physical throttle levers back. You can see the blue line indicating the arc, or the power setting that I have on my physical throttles. Still kind of bumpy up here. I'm thinking, yeah, let's get the passengers strapped in. You've had enough walking around? That's pretty much it for now. I'll bring you back when we're with Copenhagen Control in the descent. Alright, unfortunate series of events. Unfortunately, I just tuned to Copenhagen Approach just to get set up a little bit early, but they just announced that they are closing. So they are now offline, and we're back on Unicom. So this will be basically, the rest of the flight will be Unicom, which means we can have a little bit of fun on the approach as well. So I'm not too worried about that. We're currently continuing on our regularly scheduled flight plan. Over to Tildo, and we've got the Tildo 1 Delta programmed in for runway 30. It's basically going to take us over to, if we zoom out a little bit, KOR, which by the way I looked up is the Corsa VOR. From there we're planning to fly a heading, basically a downwind leg, continue our descent, and then wrap around for our final and our shooting of the ILS for runway 30. Quick check of the weather. It is now QNH is 998. So we can bump that up one, and we'll change that. I'm not sure if it makes a difference if we put it in the forecast page or not, but we can do so, like so. Execute. There we go. What else? Init ref. We currently have 7.1 tons of fuel. Our progress page is estimating we arrive with 6.2, so that is a decimal niner difference. So 136.7, 135.8. Like so. We'll take flaps 30. Gonna have a decent headwind. Unable to 150 knots at KOR. That's fine. We will change that to 250 or below. And put that in like so. Usually that gets it to stop screaming at us, which is nice. So we're tuned into the Corsica VOR, or the Corsa VOR. I keep wanting to say Corsica, but it's not. And we are currently 95.1 nautical miles away from that. Continuing our inbound. We'll put it into heading mode after that. Continue our descent. The intercept will be at 3,000, so we'll continue our descent down to 3,000 feet on the local QNH and shoot the approach. Hopefully we can take the autopilot out a little bit early and do most of it visually. There is good visibility, over 10 statute miles, no precipitation. Winds are still relatively breezy, 15 knots. Cloud cover, few 1,500, broken at 2,600. Rain showers reported in the area, scattered at 200. Okay, well, we'll have to see how visibility turns out on that approach and when we can see the runway. Minimums again are 222. I'm not too worried about it. We'll talk to. We'll catch you a little bit later in the flight. So we do have some traffic about in the area, which is kind of a shame. Well, I mean, they're all above us, which doesn't... traffic's not a factor. Yeah, it's kind of a shame that Copenhagen approach kind of just left. But I guess there wasn't too much besides us coming inbound, so oh well. Employing a little bit of speed brake now. Speed's starting to get away from us a little bit. Bring that back nicely. Looking like we're going to hit that 8-0 over the Corsa VOR. And then from there we'll make a right turn. I'm not quite sure the heading yet. We'll probably do about 115 or so. 115. Yeah, maybe even a little bit less. 110. Something like that. Our final inbound course, before I start messing it up, is 302. So we can cut inwards as well a little bit as we continue the descent down to I believe it was 3,000 or 2,500. We'll leave this one on init ref, and we will take this one on legs, like so. And so yeah, 3,000 by the center marker. Go ahead and put some range rings in as well, just to give us a little bit more of a visual cue. We want fix, replace Trent. We'll do 5, and we'll do 10. Like so. Not too fussed about procedures at this point. No ATC. There was a SAS flight pushing back from one of the stands, but that was a good 10 minutes ago. I haven't heard anything since. We'll make sure to broadcast our intentions, as good VATSIM pilots do. And I don't think there will be any conflicts with that. Okay, well, speed came back nicely, so we can go ahead and bring back in the speed brake. That's about it. Now we're in 11 minutes in the air so far. Wind really, really helping us out on this one. Still got a 38 knot tailwind even on the descent. There's the moon. Okay, so I've changed my mind. We're going to do a little bit more VOR work here, just because we can now that there's no ATC. So after Corsa, I want the Kestrel VOR, which is Kilo Alpha Sierra, like so. And we'll put that in there, Kestrel. And then we're going to track that outbound on a radial of 130. So we'll go 130 on this side. 130 like so. You can see that added the waypoint of Kestrel, which is going to be down there somewhere. And yeah, we'll do the full procedural. We'll see if we can do it even manually. It's 130 outbound to 17 DME, and then we make the left-hand sweeping left turn to the intercept course. So I will switch views once again. We want the Kestrel VOR, the frequency being 112.5, like so. That should be picking it up. Yep, 57 nautical miles. Good. Go ahead and switch in the view a little bit, tighten up the ND. There we go. There's that cloud layer they were talking about. We want to be over Kestrel by, it doesn't say an altitude, so we'll keep the descent going at a nice rate, maybe 1,400 feet a minute or so. We'll put it into VS mode. After 10,000, we'll keep it under 240, and we'll see what we can get away with in terms of a descent rate. So that is going to be the plan. We can go ahead and do 130. Actually, we'll sync up the heading for now. You see, we still got that tailwind at 40 knots, so it's constantly requiring me to put out a little bit of speed brake. Here comes the Corsa VOR. So from there, we're going to continue basically straight ahead to the Kestrel VOR. And then make our right turn on the outbound radial. See if we can take it in manual mode. So there's 10,000. We're going to start to slow. Turn the shiny switches on. Those two. There we go. That's configured. Everything else can stay the same. Passengers are already seated. There's the speed reduction. Already selected an auto brake setting of 2. And yeah, we'll go ahead and give it just a little bit of a helping hand with the speed brake. Although it's already pre-calculated this for itself. So that's TrackIR jittering about. Probably turn it off and then turn it back on final approach. There we go. So speed's coming back nicely. We're just helping it out with a little bit of speed brake, just because we've got that quite powerful tailwind. We're still on the VNAV profile, so that's good. We'll continue. We'll bug it down to, let's call it 6. It'll still be flight level since the transition altitude is 5. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's kind of a shame when you don't have ATC controlling, just because it's nice to talk to someone on the other end of the mic. But this does have its advantages as well. We can have a little bit of fun, play it by ear, change our game plan a little bit accordingly. So I'm not too disappointed. Okay, we're gonna employ just a little bit of speed brake because it's asking for 240 and we're doing 250. Even though 250 is perfectly reasonable, we'll try to get it down a little bit slower. So here we go. We are over the Corsair VOR, inbound to the Kastrup VOR. Once again, oops, bring up the ND a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of a mess because I made it a mess. That's okay. That one is that. That one is that. So that's fine. We're going to be tracking the 130 outbound. I don't know what this radio is here. Let's see, did I put that in the fix? Maybe that's still left over from the fix pages. We've got DT, yeah, we've got runway 30. Yeah, we'll leave that one. Those are the range rings. Nothing else. 2/5, so, and 302. Engines are spooling up. That's my cue to bring in the speed brake. Sorry, I'm focusing on the FMC. No, still showing that weird line coming out here this way. Not quite sure what that is, but we'll gloss over it. It's fine. Just a little bit of clutter, that's all. As we continue our inbound to the Kastrup VOR, I'm going to quickly check vPilot and make sure we're not breaking any rules or in anybody's way, and I'll be right back with you. So we're currently cloud surfing, or sort of. We've got about 20 miles to run to the field, or thereabouts. Tighten up the ND a little bit more. And I've set it down to 3,000 now on the local QNH. A little bit of a, I think that was the scenery loading in at our destination. Go ahead and flick these on. Engine start switches. And, let's see. Yeah, so we're going to want VOR on this side, like so. And once that comes alive, we're going to make a sweeping right to intercept that, that localizer. I think I'm going to have to be on Command A for that, in order to follow VOR1 with that frequency. So what I think I'm going to do... let's see. I think if I just double-click it, it should be fine. So what we'll do... There we go. Okay, so that transferred it over to the master is now on the left-hand side, which is fine. We can go ahead and hit VOR loc, and it'll make that right turn to intercept the outbound radio. Which again was 130. And we'll fly that for, I believe it was 9 DME. I'm going to check the charts one more time. Hey, we can start to see the ground a little bit. Yeah, there it is. So I wanted to fly into this this specific field because the scenery, I forget who made it, FlyTampa something. I ended up buying it after I had, yeah, it's Montreal and Toronto and yeah, this one here, in Denmark. And the city is modeled, and the town and the scenery was just absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, a little bit cloudy to be looking at anything right now. But we'll focus on IFR flying, and maybe we'll come back to Copenhagen another day when the weather's just a little bit better for us. You can kind of start to see. I mean, the countryside is absolutely beautiful. never really been. I've been to the north of Germany. I've been so far north into Denmark as Legoland. Not sure where that relates to Copenhagen. I was a small child at the time. Although I would totally go back to Legoland if you offered it to me any day. But yeah, the countryside was absolutely beautiful from what I remember, and this is absolutely gorgeous scenery. Unfortunately, we're not getting to see much of it. But the good news is, once we continue this descent here, we'll be kind of able to we'll have visual contact with the runway once we're below these clouds, and so we can kind of fly the rest a little bit more manually. We're a little bit low. We're going to level off here at 3,000. I'd planned to be, a little bit higher than this. It didn't quite work out vertically in terms of our game plan, but that's fine with me. We'll just the engines will spool up, and we'll just fly it around here at 3,000, do a nice little scenic tour of the Danish coast. That, I'm assuming, is most of Copenhagen City. See if we can get you a wing view. Okay, so we're coming up to the Kastrup VOR, so I'm going to prepare to put it into into VOR loc mode. There's the field. So I'm going to start this right-hand turn just a second here. Everything's starting to load in. I'm going to go ahead and heading select. We'll start the right turn. We'll ease it into the VOR radial. See if the load comes alive. Should do. So there's our outbound leg. We'll fly that for about 9 DME. There's our DME from Kastrup. There we go. Another beautiful sunset here in Europe. I love these European sunsets. Okay, so there's our 10 DME from the field. And in just a second here, we will go ahead and start making a left-hand turn inbound. Like so. We'll let it fly a little bit further out. Doing 180 knots, that's fine with me. We're going to get quite a headwind here as we make our turn to final, so I'm not too concerned about slowing down at the last second. And going to announce our intentions quickly. There's our intentions fired off. We're 10 nautical miles from the field, heading select mode. Go ahead and make that turn. Level at 3,000. Got the ILS set up in nav 2. We'll go ahead and switch it over to. There we go. And we've got the localizer readout there because we are on an ILS. We've pre-selected an ILS. Beautiful sweeping left turn here. Go ahead and take this one out of VOR mode. Yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll keep that left turn going. So heading about, let's call it 350 for now. There's a KLM down at Kastrup, and we've just been chatting on Unicom, making sure that one of us has priority and the other one has to wait. So there we go. Go ahead and bring out flaps 5. Not getting vertical guidance here from the ILS yet. Not too worried. Still a little bit far out for that anyway. We'll buzz the passengers. Not the passengers so much as the flight attendants. Shiny switches out. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and take manual control. Go ahead and put this in ILS. There we go. Yeah, it's still not picking up the loc for some reason. That's okay. Tighten up the ND on this side. Did I get the wrong frequency? I might have. It doesn't really matter. We'll just fly the LNAV course.
2500.
Checked. Gears coming out. I am really not too concerned about any of this right now. So, level off at 2000. There we go. That's our inbound course-ish. I think I have the field, sort of. Oh, there's the runway. Got it. Okay. So we'll fly this now. We can go ahead and take flaps 15. Everything's visual. I would state our intentions on Unicom, but honestly, right now, I'm a little bit busy hand flying. The plan is we'll vacate at our convenient taxiway to the right, and the terminal should be right there for us. Okay, a little bit to the right. I think that localizer frequency was 108 something. See if I can find that. Whoops. This is probably a bad idea. I did this in the last video. It was stupid. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm visual. Got the field. We're at flaps 30. Configuration. All we have to do is set the speed brake. Descent rate's a little bit high. There we go. Pitch it back up a little bit. Get that to about 500 until we get 2 whites and 2 reds. Still a little bit high. Bring it back down to 500-ish. A little bit to the right. I'm going to correct to the left here.
1000.
That is checked. Everything's visual. We're all good. I don't see any problem with this approach. We are a little bit low, but that's totally fine. A little bit of up trim. Beautiful day once we got under those clouds, and that sunset is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that sky. Anyways, back on the task at hand. Alright, there we go. We've come back to the left a little bit too far, actually. Back over to the right. You know, it might look like a sloppy approach, and it is. I mean, I'm not professing I have very good piloting skills or flying skills. That's fine. But it's so much more fun doing this. I'd much rather do this than just, you know, let it fly itself down to minimums and then take control for the flare. If you can get away from it, or with it rather. It's a little bit too much on the descent. We're still low. That's okay. I like coming in a little bit shallow as well when I'm hand flying, and I tends to be a little bit more of a smooth final dive down into the runway.
300.
Checked. There we go. This is looking pretty good. I'm happy with this. So
200.
We're at minimums. Landing. There we go. It's looking good.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
A little bit of a bounce, but I'm okay with that. Reverse coming out. We are going to vacate to the right when able. So we're crossing both the two twos, and that's why the other aircraft had to... you know what? Let's take this one. There we go. Yeah, we made it. Okay. So all that's left is to choose a stand, park up, shut her down, and that'll be another mission in the bag. I have no idea where to park, so I'm going to pick a stand, any stand, and it shall be somewhere in here. Probably one of these middle ones here. This scenery, by the way, FlyTampa, I believe, absolutely gorgeous. They modeled the town. We'll do more flights into here in the near future, and I almost forgot to clean up the aircraft again. Flaps coming up, spoilers are in. We will take Bravo 9. There we go. That'll be ours. And can I make the turn at this side of the aircraft? Let's find out. Those gears about there. A little bit of power. That was abrupt. Set the parking brake. Transfer the buses. 1, 2. And shut them down. Release the passengers and the hounds. Get the APU lead online. And anti-call light goes off. And that's pretty much it from the flight deck. I'll continue with the shutdown procedures. We'll get the bridge put on if they are moving. Hang on. Yes. Love it. FlyTampa, you do amazing work. Thanks for joining me, everyone, on another adventure with Fly UK. It's going to be a while until we can fly from the left seat again, but I'm slowly getting used to the right. We've got so many unique destinations to look forward to, and interesting procedures to try. Not to mention I need to redeem myself with the bus. Until next time, I wish you all blue skies, tailwinds, and I'll see you in the next episode.